was like, oh, I don't know. He was like, your guts are all this stuff. And I was like, I couldn't tell you anything that happened, but
how has motherhood been?
It's been great. The first 6 months was, okay. This is something I talk about, and people judge me for it so much. But I feel like
people judge you for everything,
I
Trisha.
know.
So.
But I feel like a lot of people relate, and that's why I keep talking about it.
It's a weird thing that women do too. They love judging women and their children, and that's what Teen Mom was all about.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's crazy. That show's still on. There's like all
crazy,
these
13 years,
wild. All these kids are like adults now. It's like so insane. No, the first 6 months, it definitely was. What did I do? I was like, oh no, because like it is. And this is like something I like just want to talk about because it's like you have the baby, right? You don't know if you're going to be a good mom or not until the baby's here. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was like, I'm not a good mom because I just didn't connect. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't find myself wanting to nurture, I was like, she cries and I'm like, I locked myself in a bathroom, and that was like that for the first 6 to 9 months, I would say. And it just was like terrifying because you're like, okay, I have this baby. I made this choice and now I'm like this bad mom, right? Like I don't want to be a mom, right? And so that was my experience.
I think that's depression.
And that's what so I didn't think I had postpartum. I'm like, I'm fine. Everything's fine,
Yeah.
But I think now looking back, that's what it was because I was just like, I don't know. And then I got out of it and I felt like, that 1 year mark, you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm back to myself. Good. And it's
which,
like.
by the way, the postpartum depression is always within the first year.
See, I didn't think it would be that long.
Don't suffer like that. Don't suffer needlessly.
Well, but you just don't know it, right? You're just thinking, oh, well, maybe I'm not meant to be a mom. Maybe this was not, whatever. Mm-hmm. So that was my, that was it.
It can be associated, by the way, normally, not that the condition is you want if there's a condition, the depression, but it can be associated, that condition can be associated with fantasies of violence and hurting the baby and all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, thank God I never had that because... Yeah. And that's, we talked so much because that was like one thing that like you hear about this stuff, which is so real, right? Like the what do you call it? Psychosis?
The psychosis part is different. That's where they're really, really wild. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was so happy. I had like so many moments where I was like, that was the ups and downs. I don't know if it's the borderline or just the postpartum of it all, but I was so happy a lot too. I would like look at her and just like start crying because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a love. This is like pure. Like she's so untouched by the world.
I think that's good, but I think that's more the borderline stuff. Because they called you bipolar at one time too, right?
I took like lithium and stuff. They had given me medication for it.
Because borderline and bipolar, the mood stuff can be very, very similar.
Yeah. So it was highs and lows for me because I would look at her and just be like, oh, I love this baby. Like she's so pure.
So when you talk to your psychologist, whoever you talk to, make sure they understand that history, that there's this mood instability stuff.
I think that's where maybe I should have sought someone that was more of a specialist because not that he wasn't like equipped, but I think it was more of like just doing the regular borderline exercises, right? Like breathing and stuff, and like it works, but like my mind was still like, I don't know, crying.
Something more is going on. Yeah. Which is you should take advantage of modern treatments.
Yeah.
But, I want a sort of assuage of your guilt and anxiety about it because there's something in the object relation and psychoanalytic literature that's called the good enough mother. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to be is good enough. No perfect mother. Ain't one anywhere. Doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. You have to be good enough. And good enough usually means just making sure the baby's needs are met, being available more times than not. Yeah. And not traumatizing the baby. That's the key thing, is not traumatizing.
Well, that was the big thing, right? I'm like, I don't want to ever have her see me cry. Obviously, we never argue. What is like the key things to not, because my biggest fear, right, especially when I found out I was having a girl, is that she's going to turn out like me, where it's like maybe intentionally or not, my parents, maybe I had a little trauma, because they were working too much. I never saw them.
Stuff will transmit through you.
Yeah. So how do I not traumatize her with those feelings, right? It's like now we're at a good place, but it's like I never want her to be like, why is mom crying? She doesn't get it, right? I would cry and she would, like she doesn't see me cry. So it's like
I think it's going to be a long process, right? Because kids feel responsible for everything. They feel like if something's happening in the world, it must be them. Mm-hmm. And so the key thing is to try to make sure there's no contagion involved, where if the child has a need, it isn't evoking stuff in you that's pushing the child away, that you're just present with the child's needs. And if you need time away to regulate and whatever, you move away from it. Yeah. And it's just being good enough. It's not being perfect, and you can do it, no doubt in my mind. And then later, as time goes on, to keep educating about, mood and what mood is and how you're not responsible for it. And it's just a thing in my brain that goes off once in a while. And it's hard for kids not to feel responsible for all of it. And just keep reinforcing you're there for her.
Yeah.
And that her responsibility is not you. Her responsibility is to be a kid.
So your best advice then would just to be like, pull yourself out of the situation if it's like too much.
If you can. I don't want to say it that glibly because these are complicated situations, all of them. But to make sure that you're stepping in when she needs to step out, I think and to have a little bit of a dance, and if the kid is mommy, 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 which is the other thing that nobody tells you, right? Is that nobody can substitute for mom for that baby. That is so astonishing to me when I see it. Like it's like the baby puts a hose into your soul and goes, I need it. I want your soul.
Yeah.
And it's literally the situation. And so it becomes about pacing yourself and not depleting yourself and listening to your own feelings and then attuning as best you can to the baby and getting those needs. The first year it's all pee, poo, food. Anyway.
Right. Looking back, you're like, oh man, that first year, you like now having a newborn, it doesn't stress us out. Like we haven't even prepared half of what we did for Malibu because we're like, they just sleep, for 3 months. It was like, looking back, I was like, man, those actually were like the easy months. Now she's like walking and throwing herself down, everything. She's just like being wild. And
wait for this next 2 years, a lot more of that
Don't say that. She's already so rambunctious. And I'm just like, oh my God, like just tracking her and following her and stuff has been, but yeah. And then once she get past that year mark and I'm just like, this time around, I'm going to try and enjoy the baby phase more because I just feel like I wasn't present.
Good.
And I feel like guilty about it. And I almost feel like in a way she felt that because instead of mommy, 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 she's very daddy, daddy, daddy.
Okay. Well,
and so then I'm kind of like,
but she got her needs met. She's fine. And it is, keep also in mind that a big part of what the parenting job is because we all make mistakes, repair. How do you repair your deficiencies, which we all have?
Yeah.
Somebody stepped in and helped repair it. That's all. It's okay.
But it breaks your heart.
Well, it breaks your heart. But your job, but you have to not let that be her responsibility.
No, I know. I am just like, I'm happy. I'm like always happy. I'm like, well, at least she has, super dad over there.
Exactly. But I understand that it would hurt.
Yeah. And I'm just like, with this next one, when we found out we were having another girl, it's just like, for me, being a girl was like so hard. And I'm like, I'm already so scared for them. I'm just like, like seeing her interact with kids and like they're pretty nice to her, right? But she's 1.5 and like 4-year-old girls don't want to play with a 1.5-year-old at like the park. So she'll be there eating like her macaroons and like she might want to like play with their bubbles or something and they don't like want to play with her. And already I'm just like, play with her. Like she's saying hi to you. And it's like breaks my heart. And I just like those kind of things. I'm just like, I just want to like shelter her forever. Cause I'm just like, I don't want her. She's going to get jaded. Everyone does. Right. I know.
Well, you want her to be resilient.
Yeah.
Right. So not too much self-esteem building, right? You need to be assessing reality.
Yeah.
But enough self-esteem building and not too much